and we'll get going here. So again, if you just hopped on, if you don't mind to pop your name in the chat box, again, I'll have that up each week right before class starts and leave it up during the recording, and it will transcribe that. So that's how I keep track of your participation points. So if you're on live on the recording, you automatically get the participation points. You will not have to go in where it says week one, week two participation, week three, and answer questions as long as you're live on the meeting. If you have to miss for whatever reason, school event, family, if you're on vacation in the summer, I get it. I'll always record it and I'll always have it up within about an hour after we finish our Zoom session. So you can go in there and watch the recording, answer the questions, and get your points. So now that I've got that done, I'll go ahead and introduce myself. I'm Dr. Matt Posey. I have been with Fort Hays now for about 7, maybe 8 years as an instructor. Teach multiple classes for them. I'll probably have you for multiple classes in the program. Especially we'll see a lot of you at the end. I do one of the practicums, depending on what pathway you're on. I do the practicum at SPED 822, and then Dr. Brooks does 839. So a lot of you I'll see again too at the end of the program, but teach other classes in between. I've been in education now for 31 years, all here in Oklahoma. I am a school superintendent currently, been doing that for several years, but also have a background in school psychometry. So I did a lot of testing. I still contract out and do that. So that's one of the reasons why I teach this course. Again, being superintendent, I'm located about 25 minutes straight east of Oklahoma City in Shawnee, Oklahoma is where I'm at. So not too far from most of you. So look forward to having you. This summer, it will be a quick 8 weeks. When I go over the syllabus in a minute, you'll probably go, oh my gosh, that's a lot of work. So it's really not. You just take 1 week at a time and we'll get through it. It's very doable. Um, um, and I know each of you will be successful. I want you to be successful. Office hours, you pretty much can reach me any day. I check emails twice a day. I'm an early morning guy, so I usually check them between 5 a.m. and about 7 a.m. And then I check them again in the evening after 5 o'clock. So if you email me in the middle of the day, no, I'll see it and respond to you in the evening. If you're a late night person and you email me late at night, I'll see your email when I open it up early in the morning. So pretty easy to get a hold of. If something comes up, just please communicate with me. We always stress communication in this program. It's a big part of you being successful. We understand you guys are working adults. We know you have a lot going on. You're teaching. A lot of you have families and you're going 20 different directions all the time and then trying to keep up with graduate studies. So if something comes up, please email me. Just let me know. I'm easy to work with, but the main thing is just communicate with me and let me know and I'll work with you. Okay. All right. I've got about, I'm gonna try to get you off here by 9:30 or 10. I hope you didn't have any late plans. I hope. So no, most of my Zooms go about 45, 50 minutes. Okay. Every once in a while we go a little bit longer if there's a lot of questions, but normally it's 45, 50 minutes. I get you in and out of here. I try not to take a lot of your time. Okay. Tonight, really, I just kind of want to give you the overview of the class, just a little bit about the assignments, kind of the expectations of the assignments, the different tests that we're going to work with. Um, and then I'm gonna kind of go over the syllabus and just make sure everyone has a good understanding. And then I'll reference a couple things for week one. Again, I'm not gonna keep you a long time tonight. And then starting next week, I'll be getting into all their slide decks with a lot of information, and so we'll cover those. But tonight's just mainly an orientation, get to know kind of what's expected in the class and some of the things we're going to go over. So before I really jump into it, I just want to make sure everyone understands during this summer session with this course and the assignments we're doing that you have access to a case study student. If you're teaching or working in summer school, that's fine. You have access. If not, you could use a neighbor's child, a relative. You could even use your own child, okay? But just as long as you have access to a case study student, because we're going to learn how to administer and collect data from the different types of assessments. Okay, we're going to have three main assessments that we're going to focus on during this 8-week course. The first one is informal assessment. Okay, and it's pretty much exactly what the name. It's assessments that are very informal, something that we can administer in less than 2 minutes, just to kind of gauge or assess to see if students what their understanding is of the content. Okay, it's nothing that's elaborate. It's nothing that you have to go out and spend lots of money on to buy it. You can literally make your own informal assessment. Okay, and we'll talk a little bit about that a little bit later. The second assessment that we're going to work on and learn how to use is a curriculum-based measurement, CBM assessments, what we refer to it. That's somewhat of a glorified informal assessment, a little bit more structured, but still somewhat informal. We're going to administer that particular assessment multiple times and collect a series of data points. And we're going to learn how to plot those, and we're going to learn how to analyze that data to determine if the student is progressing in a positive direction or if it's kind of hit and miss, meaning a score's high, the next time it drops, it's low, it's kind of up and down. We're going to learn how to analyze that and determine if and what interventions might be needed. And then once we do an intervention, we'll come back and reassess to see if those scores go up. Okay. Then the last one we're going to work on and learn how to utilize and kind of get exposed to is what we call a normed reference assessment. Okay. Norm reference assessments, a majority of them, require you as an individual to have extra credentials or certifications to administer those. Okay. So as we approach that and we talk about it, I'm going to say, hey, is there someone that you, a SPED director, or do you know a psychometrist or a psychologist that has the qualifications to administer those that you could work with? Some of your districts may be administering those for benchmarking purposes, and those assessments are considered norm reference. Common ones that schools use are STAR, reading and math. That's considered a norm reference test. I don't know how many of you are familiar with that. It's part of the Renaissance suite, STAR, reading and math. Another very common benchmark assessment is MAP testing, MAP. That's a national assessment. It's nationwide. It's normed. That's another common one that schools use. So if your school uses those and you have a case study student, Johnny, you can perhaps work with your school district to retrieve that data to use for an assessment. FastBridge is another one you could use. Okay. If you don't use MAP, it's not a big deal. Okay. If you don't have access to or a partnership or a relationship with a school psychometrist, psychologist, don't panic. Don't freak out. It's not the end of the world for this class, especially in the summer. I have a backup plan for you to successfully complete the assignment. I have a recording and it's in the course shell. It's called Testing Lab Video, and it's actually me doing a reevaluation on a high school student. I got permission to record it. You can use that video for the normed reference assignment. Okay, that's why it's in the course shell. When we start offering this course in the summer, they asked me, hey, can you do a video of a reeval so they could use it as an alternate assessment? Okay, so if you don't have access to all that, don't freak out, don't panic. It's not the end of the world. I've got a video for you. Okay, it's about 30 minutes. It's of me administering the Woodcock Johnson WJ4, the cognitive, because there's interaction between me and that student. If I gave the academic part, they're all time, there's no interaction, so you don't get to see how that whole process works. Along with that, if you use that video, I will provide you the comprehensive report that I wrote. It has all the results in it, the data that you need to pull to help complete the assignment. Okay, so you're covered there. If you don't have access to those people in your district, I will provide you the video and the report. It's all in the course shell. It's already there right now as we speak. Okay, so just know that as we get closer to it, Don't panic. Don't freak out. Okay. We've got a solution for you. All right. Then, after we do those three assessments, you're collecting data, you're writing reports. I have examples of the reports in there that kind of will guide you, show you what we're looking for. The last thing we're going to do is take all that information, Ashley, and we're going to put it into what we call a mock IEP. That will be the final. You're going to actually do a mock IEP. You can do it at your kitchen table. You can do it in your home office. You can do it in your classroom at the school if you want. And you're going to pretend that you're conducting an IEP meeting, but you're going to use all the data that you have collected from doing the informal assessment, the CBM, and the norm reference. You're just going to present that information that you've collected as if there was a team, an IEP team there. Okay, we're just going to pretend they're there and you're going to present it, make recommendations, and then do a closing of the meeting. Okay, and I will provide a outline for you to follow on that. Okay, so a lot of the stuff I'm talking to you about, I have resources and examples in the course shell, so I'm not expecting you to do it cold turkey. I'll provide you resources that will guide you and give you examples of how to do it. And I will show you each week when we're getting ready to write those reports and administer those assessments. Okay, so that's kind of the makeup of the class. You'll have those assessment reports. But the very first thing you're going to do, and I know it's probably going to be a dreaded thing when I say it, but we incorporate this assignment into this class for a reason, and it's to get you used to working with colleagues. Okay? So the very first assignment for this course is a group project. Okay. We're going to ask you guys to do, it's called a group interview project. And I will show you in just a moment when I do a screen share. There is an outline of the questions that you can ask the person that you select to interview. We're going to ask you, Carla, to select someone maybe from your district. Could be a special education teacher, could be the SPED director, could be a school psychologist if you guys have one, school psych, and we're going to ask you guys to present them a series of questions just to collect some information about their experiences in special ed. Okay, you're going to register for groups. I'll show you how to do that tonight. And so you're going to individually present those questions to your person, and then you're going to come back and provide the data to your team, and you're going to start compiling a report. And your team will submit one report, and it's a compiling all the data from your team into one paper and presenting it. Okay. And it asks them simple, basic questions. How long have you been in special education? What types of assessments do you prefer to use? What does the district require you to use? A little bit about their personal experiences. Okay. So it's nothing that's over the top. Yes, you can use a retired teacher that just retired last year. I see that in the chat box. Okay. We're just wanting you to get some information and compile it. It will be interesting to see once your group puts that together, the wide range of experience. I've seen a particular group have anyone they've interviewed that maybe has 3 years of experience up to 32, all within that group. So you get to see a wide variety of information when you compile that report. Okay. Now, always tell every class this. I know this is a virtual class, and you're like, how in the world are we going to do a group project, right? Easiest way to do it is I will strongly suggest that you sign up for your groups after class tonight. The group, it's self-enroll. Each group is limited to 5 members. So once that fifth member registers for the group, it will lock that group. It won't let anyone else register. Okay. It will force them to drop down to like group 2 or group 3. Once you get that registered, I would strongly encourage you to reach out and start communicating with those group members. Probably the best way to do this, always suggest this, is establish a Google Doc for your group And also maybe set up one evening outside of class to where you maybe can do a Google Meets or a quick Zoom just to kind of touch base and make sure everyone's on the right track. That Google Doc, if you set it up for your group, Carla, you might be a late night type of person where you function best and work best at night, and you want to get on there at midnight and start putting your information in. And Kelly, she might be an early morning person. She prefers to get on there in the morning. So you have 24/7 access to that document. So you can get on there and start putting in your information and contributing to that. Okay, you don't have to wait till a certain time. So that's the beauty of having a shared Google Doc and being able to do that as part of a group project. And then I always encourage them to maybe touch base at least once during this window of time on a quick Zoom just to make sure everyone's on the same page and progressing in the same manner. Okay. All right. A lot of information already, right? Are you overwhelmed yet? It's very doable. Okay. Just trust me, it's doable. We'll get through it one week at a time. Okay. I'm going to do a quick screen share. I'm going to pull up the syllabus and just kind of go down through each week and make sure you understand when our Zoom meetings are, when different assignments are due, and make sure everyone's clear on that. And then I am actually going to jump in and show you where to find the information for the group interview and the guiding questions. Okay? All right, so give me just a minute and I will switch over to my document. Should pop up for you there just any second. Everyone see my screen? Everybody good? Okay. So you can see the course has 1,000 points, weekly participation. If you hop on the Zoom, you don't have to worry about answering the questions. As long as you sign in and it shows up on the recording, I plug your points in. I will manually put your points in for you. If you don't attend live, just know you'll have to go to either week 1, week 2, week 3 participation and click on that. There's a couple questions on there. Just make sure you watch a video and you'll be able to answer the questions. Okay, so we've got 8 of those. Interview report, group interview report, what I just talked about, is worth 100 points. Okay. Informal assessment report and a lesson plan. We'll do a lesson plan for each of those assessment reports. We have a template that we provide in the course shell, and we'll just ask you to take the data, the information you got from administering that assessment, and then take that and use that to develop a lesson plan for the informal. Okay, and then we'll ask you to do the same thing for norm reference and CBM. The norm reference test you'll see is listed. It's 150 points. So each time we learn a new assessment, the point value goes up just a little bit because each one of them involves just a little bit more. Okay. CBM, this is what I talked to you about. It's kind of a glorified informal assessment, but we're going to ask you to administer it at least 4 times. We'd like to see 4 to 6 data points. That CBM is not time consuming to administer. It could be done in probably 3 to 5 minutes. Okay, and I will show you a resource that will help you find what we call a CBM probe or an assessment for you to use so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And we'll do a lesson plan for that. And then I mentioned the mock IEP video. That's your final. That video is about, from start to finish, about 12 to 15 minutes. 15 minutes be a max on that in order to cover everything you need to cover based on the guideline I give you. And then we have one other thing. It's something you will do individually, and it is actually tied into the interview report. So, Leah, you're going to be in, let's just say you're in group 1, okay? And you have 4 other members. So after that is submitted, or when it's due on that Sunday night, you're going to have to go in and pull up this form and do what we call a peer assessment collaboration. So, Leah, you're going to list your teammates on that collaboration rubric, And it's going to ask you to rate them based on how they participated and contributed on a scale of 1 to 4. And then it's also, we're going to ask you to list yourself. So, Leah, you would list yourself as one of the participants, do a self eval, and then you would list your teammates right below you and you would rate them. You submit that individually. Your group members don't see it. I'm the only one that sees it. Okay. So if they didn't contribute much and you score them down, don't worry about anybody else seeing that. I'm the only one that sees it. Come straight to me. Okay. All right. And that will give you a total of 1,000 points. Okay. For the course. This is all very doable. And if you will listen to the things the pointers I give you, and also look at the examples I got posted for each one of these assignments, you will do just fine. Each one of you will do great. You'll be successful, okay? Up above that breakdown, just wanted to show you each week. Week 1, you will see the thing you have due. All my assignments are due on Sunday night by midnight. I do that for a reason because I know you guys are working. You're going all kinds of directions during the week. You get sidetracked. It gives you the weekend to catch up if you get behind. So it's due as long as you have it in by midnight on Sunday, you're good. We will meet each Wednesday during the summer session at 6. I try to do Wednesdays because I know you guys are taking other classes, and so all the instructors, we have a shared document, and we try to make sure that we don't put our Zooms on top of each other. Okay, we try to keep all that separate. So I always try to go on Wednesdays at 6. So you'll see out here to the far right, it'll show you due dates and what's due. So really this Sunday, just make sure you do the introduction discussion board and respond to at least two of your two colleagues in the class, okay? The following Sunday, which will be the 15th, is when the group interview project is. So tonight, soon as class is over, I strongly encourage you guys to go ahead and sign up for a group. Find out who your group member is, and then take the interview questions that I'm going to show you here in just a moment, and go ahead and reach out to your person. You can email those to them. I know school's out, and you may not see some of these folks face to face. It's summertime. I get it. So if you want to reach out to them and they agree to answer them, you could email the questions to them and they could respond and email it back. You could do that. Okay? Try to make it a little easier for you. So that group project is due on the 15th. Okay? So when I show you where an example of that is and you see the length of it, don't panic. Don't freak out. Your final document on that, Jennifer, when your group submits it, might be 30 pages long. Okay? And a lot of that is each group member including their interview questions and answers. And so by the time 5 of you do that, that adds a lot of length to that report. The actual body of the report, the main report, ends up being about 4 pages. Okay, and I'll show you what that looks like in just a minute. But when I show you the example and you see it's very lengthy, that's why we're asking you to include the supporting documentation for it. Okay. Week 2, I will get into I'll go over the slide deck on the different types of assessments. Okay, that'll kind of be our focus. Week 3, we'll get into Module 2. We're going to start talking about informal assessments. Okay, I will go over informal assessment. I will actually talk about it next week. I will introduce that to you, even though you're right in the middle of writing the interview. I'll go ahead and introduce that so you can have that in the back of your mind and start thinking about, okay, what type of informal assessment do I want to do? Okay. So we'll talk a little bit about that. That informal assessment report will be due on June 22nd. We'll go into week 4. You'll see week 4 is kind of a down week. You won't have anything due. You don't have anything to submit, but we're talking about formal assessments, and that's the normed reference. This is a little bit more formalized, okay? And so I will go over a lot of different types of norm reference, just to kind of give you an idea of what they entail, what they look like. You'll have a week off there. You'll have a little breathing room. The next week, that norm reference assessment report will be due on July the 6th. Okay. To avoid having to do some stuff on the 4th of July, I would encourage you to go ahead and start working on that norm reference up here so you won't have to worry about doing some of this on 4th of July right there, okay, on that weekend. That week, I will also go ahead and start talking a little bit about CBMs. And in week 6, we'll continue CBMs. You'll see on week 6, you have another off week. Okay, because you need a little extra time to administer those CBM probes to get the 4 to 6 data points. So you have a week off as far as having an assignment due, and then you will come in the week of week 7, which is July the 20th, and that CBM report with the lesson plan will be due on that Sunday. Now, the final exam is the only assignment you're going to have with me that won't be due on Sunday. So keep this in mind. I always like to point this out the first night. It is a short turnaround from the time you submit the CBM assessment report here on the 20th until that final, it's due the following Wednesday. So it's CBM's due Sunday, then you have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday until 4. Okay? If you guys have your CBM done on or before that Sunday, so you can submit your assignments early and I will grade them and get them back to you so you know if you need to change or tweak anything. When assignments up here are due on Sunday, I always like to have them all reviewed, scored, and returned to you by Tuesday. But knowing there's a quick turnaround right here, if you have the CBM done before that Sunday, you can submit it and I'll score it and get it back to you so you know you're ready to move on and go ahead and do your mock IEP. Okay? All right. A lot of your information for the mock IEP you've already got because you've already submitted it to me in a CBM report, a norm reference report, informal. You're going to use that to do the mock IEP. So you already have your information. You just have to sit down and do it. Okay? So you're doing it as you go. All right. Any questions? And one thing I want to point out, this is something a little new that Dr. Brooks asked us to put in. We had a little bit of a snafu with a final project on a student for the spring. And so she got with us and on the final exam or final project, please note, there are no late submissions, nor will anything be graded that's submitted late on the final, okay? So just please keep that in mind, okay? That all kind of came about and starting this summer semester, okay? So we went and put all that in our course syllabus and course shells, okay? So I don't want to see anybody get caught up there, all right? Okay. Everybody kind of foggy minded right now. It's a lot of information, right? I'm going to drop down and I'm going to show you in the course syllabus. We're going to talk a little bit about now about the group interview. Okay. And I'm going to show you where the interview questions are so you know where to go and find them. All right. So on page 7, right here in your group, in your syllabus is where the questions start and they will carry over to the top part of page 8. They are bulleted points. This is what will guide your interview questions. Jennifer, like I said a while ago, if you guys need to, with school being out at summer, if you need to email it to your person and let them answer them electronically and send them back, that's fine. Okay. Here are the questions. Why are certain tests used in your district? What are the specific tests and why are they used? Okay. As I said, some districts require that certain tests be used in the screening process. So ask your person what test and what specific test are used. How often or when are they used? Okay. Every district does this a little bit different. They don't want you to go in and administer these on weekly basis because, especially norm reference, okay, like the WJ4, I use those for initial and reevals. I can't give those more than once every 3 years, okay, because it skews the results, okay? So, how often or when are these assessments used? Whether it's informal, curriculum based measurement, or norm reference. Who can administer formal and informal tests in their district? Okay. Remember, the formalized tests, a lot of those require us to have extra certifications or credentials. Okay. Does the person administering them need any special training? A lot of times the answer is going to be yes, especially if it's norm reference. We have to go back and get our school psychologist or school psychometrist credentials. The next question is ask if informal tests are used, and if so, when and why are they used? If they are not used, ask why. Informal assessments can be used daily. Okay. It is a good way for you to gauge, or the regular teacher, classroom teacher, to gauge how the students are understanding and comprehending. It's a quick snapshot view. You can do it in the form of an exit ticket when they're leaving. That's an informal assessment. Something that's very simple. The next thing is, what are the various assessments used in special education and why? Okay, that district may have purchased their own testing kits. If they have a qualified examiner in the district, they may prefer to use the WIS-5 and the WJ-4, and that's all they want. Okay. If it's a larger district, they may have multiple testing kits and they want a variety of those assessments used. The next question to try to find out is the difference between formal and informal assessments that are used, and ask them to just give you an example. The next thing to ask your person is, what are the steps in the assessment process? Okay, Leah, we can't just walk in and a regular classroom teacher says, "Hey, Mrs. Wright, I think Johnny Joe needs to be tested." And you're like, "Oh, okay, all right, send him down. We'll test him." It doesn't work like that. Okay, it's a process. So ask him what the steps in the assessment process are for your district. The next thing you want to ask them, get some information on, is sections of IEDA that addresses assessment. What are some of the specific sections, guidelines of IDA that address assessment? The next thing is ask your interviewee the role of the family in the assessment process. We hope that they are actively involved, right? We want them to be an active partner. We want that collaboration there. Unfortunately, sometimes they're not, other than you were able to get a signature for consent. That may be their only involvement. So it's going to vary. So just find out what the role of the family is. The next item you're going to ask them, the method of assessment for students who speak other languages. I don't know if your district has a lot of diversity. Myself being an examiner and contracting out, that's what I always had to find out. Hey, do they need any special technology? Are they non-English speaking? Is there anything I need to be aware of? Because I have to make adjustments. If I don't, and I continue as if they are English speaking, guess what? The results I get are going to be in the tank. They're not going to be good. And then we're going to falsely identify someone. So we need to make sure that we understand if we need to make any changes or modifications in order to test that student. Sometimes I may need an interpreter. It may come to that. Okay. Next thing is ask your individual any technological considerations when administering tests. Okay, anything related to technology that I need to take into consideration before I test. Is the student hard of hearing? Okay, just little things like that. What are things I need to take into consideration regarding technology when I go in and test? The last thing, any evaluative comments or remarks that the interviewee might want to share based upon his or her practical knowledge and experiences with tests that might be relevant. Any personal experience they might want to share with you, okay, that could be relevant. Just help you get a better understanding. Okay. All right. I see Kevin look like he has a raised hand. Kevin, did you have a question?
I just kind of had a comment going back to what you said about the assessments for foreign language speakers.
Yeah.
I think it's important too to assess what their household is like
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
because not so I'm married to a Hispanic woman whose parents immigrated
Yeah.
30 years or like well not 30 years but she was the last of five and she was 11 years younger than her next brother. Her mom had her when
Yeah.
she was 40. So her parents had been there for 20 years probably.
Hmm.
And they were speaking English in the house when she was born. But she still struggles with standardized testing. And
Yeah.
I've seen kids whose English is great, but they struggle academically. And I think me myself also being a linguist,
Yeah.
sometimes you get your brain goes to the dictionary for French, for example, and then
Hmm.
you just can't get the word for English because it's stuck on the
Yeah.
wrong dictionary. And I think that that's important for those kids, even regardless of how good their English is speaking. I think they need to be assessed and treated as if they were foreign language speakers
Yeah.
academically.
No, absolutely. Very good point, Kevin. I appreciate you sharing that and with the group. Um, and those are things, and I'll bring this up now, but I get into it more and more as we start talking about the testing process. The whole testing process, it's important to understand that there's more to placement in services besides just test data. Okay, we need to take a lot of other factors into consideration, just like Kevin brought up, environmental factors. If they immigrated over, they came, immigrated from Mexico, and even though his wife was speaking English from the time she was born and walking, there are still some cultural things there that may impede the testing process or the educational process. So that's why it's always good to know going in, especially myself as an examiner, as much information as I can find out about that student, about their household, about their background. It gives me a lot better understanding about, hey, do I need to go ahead and do I need to make these adjustments? Also, definitely take those things into consideration when I'm going through and doing the scoring on them and running the results. So, Kevin, I appreciate you sharing that. Very good point. Thank you. Okay, back to the interview. So remember the guiding questions are on bottom of page 7, top of page 8 for that. Okay. Any questions on that? I'm gonna get off of the syllabus here because I kind of wanted to go over the assignments, things like that, show you where the guiding questions are. Now I want to go and switch over to the course shell. And I want to show you where an example of a group interview report is that I posted in there. So that way, once your groups form, you'll you'll have that as a reference point. Okay, so I'm going to do a stop share on that. If you'll bear with me just a moment, and I will pull up, do a screen share now. So that way you guys kind of know where to find it. It's going to be in module 1. So when you click on learning modules, you'll see module 1 drop down. And so here we are. There's going to be two week 1 folders. We have a kind of an introduction to assessment. So it has some information, some reading materials for you, and some web links, some information on gifted testing, a little bit about the Kansas Special Education Services Handbook. Um, you get down to the interview report. Let me find it here quickly so I can show you where to access it at. And that's not the one. This is an explanation on it. I just looked at it before I got on here, and now I'm think that's it either. I'm about to find my example. Bear with me just a second, guys. Sorry about that. Go back up. Skip right over it.
Are you looking for the example of the group
I
interview?
am, and I skipped right over it. Yeah.
It's under on the learning modules. There's a folder that says Module 1,
Yeah.
Foundation Knowledge of Assessments. If you click on that, yeah, click on that.
There it
There it
is, right
is.
under there. Thank you. I skipped right over it. Thank you. So, like he was saying, if you click on that module one, there'll be a folder drop down, and I blacked out their names, and you can see it was from back in 21, but it was a nice layout, kind of shows you an example of what we're looking for. So you can see they had the abstract, explanation of the paper, okay, then the group interview project and assessments. And so just kind of give you an idea. So they condensed all this. So you're going to think at first, oh my gosh, how are we going to get all this condensed? Here's an example. It shows you. So just talked about group members interviewed a range of school professionals, and then they just list them. One was a special education teacher, another was elementary SPED, and then three school psychologists. That made up that group. Okay, and then they talk about, give a brief explanation. One just completed their first year teaching, the other has 14 years of a variety of special ed assignments, and then it talks about the school psychologist and their experiences and then how they went about doing their interviews. Some did it on Zoom, some did FaceTime, and some did email. Any of those are acceptable, guys, to connect with your person. The next thing is the next section is they compiled their information that they collected from the individual interviews, and they talked about and condensed it down into the types of assessment. Here they explain the various types of formal and informal assessments are available to special education professionals. And then they get in and talk a little bit about the different ones that were used, the specific ones. Screener, the dial was a specific one they mentioned. They talked about the Woodcock Johnson 4. I use that one a lot when I'm going in to do testing for initial and reevals. Okay, they also talked about speech language pathologists and some screeners they use. So this is where you're going to just describe the different informal and formalized assessments that were used among the interviewees in your group. They also talked about the BAS 3 and also talked about the adaptive behavior assessment system, the adaptive behavior scales. They included that. And a lot of times, are you guys familiar with adaptive behavior scales? I see some no's and some yeses. Okay. So the adaptive behaviors, the ABAS 3 is a common one, and then the Vinland 3 is another one. And a lot of times when we're doing initials and reevals, that is the information that we send home. There is a parent version, and it's got a booklet of questions that will ask the parents to rate their child on how they perform basic daily functions in the home. And then we have a teacher version, and we'll oftentimes give it to a regular classroom teacher and ask them to fill it out on how that student functions and performs daily tasks in the school setting. Okay. So they talked about their assessments, and then they got into assessment administration, whether it's informal or formal. So he talked about how that works. Once consent is given, that you've got X number of school days to complete the eval, and talked about eligibility, comprehensive reports, and eligibility, and then you start after the eligibility meeting is conducted, then we're going to start developing and drafting the IEP and setting goals. Okay, so that all comes under assessment administration. Who all is involved in that? Oftentimes, the team consists of a building level administration, school psych, speech, occupational, physical therapist, social worker, and classroom teacher. Okay. Next section is legalities, working with families and diversity. Okay, kind of goes back to those questions about how involved are the families. in the process. The other thing is diversity. Any considerations we need to take into consideration for non-English speaking or families that have immigrated over, and just like the example that Kevin mentioned. And so they took their information from the interviewees and they put it into this section when we're talking about legalities and in involving families, and then what we need to do with students who have diverse backgrounds. And in the conclusion, basically wrapping up on what they learned about the assessment process based on their interviews. And so they each contributed some comments and information, and then just a basic reflection on what they learned about the whole testing process. Okay, things that maybe they already knew, and then some things that were new that they had no idea about after they talked to their interviewees. So, just a little bit about the reflection on the testing process itself and how it relates to instruction. And then they list their references. If they used information from IDA or the Kansas Department of Special Education handbook, they listed the references. Now, with the report, they included, I mentioned this is where the length of that thing comes in. Assessment interview by Jared. This is his, he would include his information. Leah's would be right after that. You just put all your interview questions and the answers that you got. That's your supporting documentation. So that's what makes the report lengthy. Okay. You can see they had their interview questions, and this was the results or the responses that they got. Okay. So by the time you add that information in, there is also a little um, contract, team contract about, taking responsibility for contributing and who's maybe going to do what task. One of the tasks on that team contract is who's going to be responsible for submitting it on or before that Sunday night at midnight. Okay. Leah may say, hey, I'll be the one responsible for that. Only one team member has to submit this main report. Okay. It's linked to your group and all the group members in there. So, Leah, if you submit and Jared's in your group, when you submit, it's going to show that Jared has a submission as well. It links the group members. Okay. But remember, going back to, I said each one of you will have an individual submission, and it's the peer rubric. Leah, that's where you'll fill it out. Jared, you'll do the same thing. You'll list yourself and your teammates and you'll rate them. I'm the only one that sees it. Your group members don't see it. Okay? Pretty easy. Okay, if you see here, guys, I told you it usually runs up around 30 pages. This particular example I gave you, the length of it was 32. A lot of it is supporting documentation, the interview questions and responses. Okay, back up here, you're going to see the main body of your report that you guys are compiling was about the first 3 to 4 pages, what I went over with you, the sections. I'm probably making you dizzy scrolling up through here so fast. Right up here, the headers are all right there. Type of assessment, group interview project assessment, just kind of the overview. Then you're going to get down into the types of assessment. That's your second section. Your third section is assessment administration. Your fourth section, legalities, working with families and diversity. Then you will have a conclusion and a reflection. Basically, you got 6 sections to condense that information down into. Okay? And then include your supporting documentation. All right? Is there any question on that? I want to show you real quick before I forget. When you get into the course shell, you're going to see these little tabs at the top: content, calendar, announcements, discussion, gradebook, message, analytic, groups. I've already got the groups in there. New group set. Okay, you're going to get in and new group 1. Jared, if you get in there and no one signed up, your new group 1, you can click on it. But remember, the limit is five. So when the fifth person signs up for that group one, it's going to lock it down. It's going to force you to go down. Okay. All right. So you'll do that at the top where those tabs are. Right there. It says groups. That's where you self-enroll. Okay. Guys, I would strongly encourage you to do that tonight because it will creep up on you in a hurry. It takes a little bit of time to coordinate with your person that you're going to have answer your questions. Remember, you can do it by Zoom. You can do a Zoom meeting with them if you want. You can email it to them and just say, hey, could you answer these and get them back to me in the next 2 to 3 days? I've got an assignment coming up. And then once you get it, Jared, hopefully you'll already have looked and see who your group members are. And again, I encourage you guys to sign up immediately, find out, and go ahead and set you up a Google Doc to where you can start putting your information in there. Put your main section headers on there and just start contributing your information in there, okay? It's the easiest way to do it. Any questions on that? I know it's a lot of information from the time we started till now.
For this the final submission, if it's like if we're working off of a Google Doc, will someone need to then make that take all that and put it on a Word doc or what?
You can do that, or you can do the Google Docs share with me.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, you certainly can. You'd also need to make sure if you do that that you give me the rights. A lot of times I forget to do that. Like if you're doing the share, you'll have to give me the rights on that to go in and edit and do markups or whatever, or add notes in there. So just make sure you do that. Okay?
So when you share a Google Doc, we'd be doing that via your email, right?
Yep.
We'd add you that way. So then how do we submit it through Blackboard? So
You
you know what I'm
you can
saying?
go in and also create. Um,
There's a way to share a link and then in
that's what I was
Google.
gonna say. You go in and
Okay,
it'll create a
okay.
link, and then you can copy your link and drop it over in. I've had them do that, so there's a way to do that.
And
So
then in
you can
Google,
hit.
you just need to put give access to anyone with the link. There's a thing you have to select that says
Yeah,
give
Okay.
access
it'll
to
drop
anyone.
down, and so to give me rights, like Kevin was saying, anyone with a link basically has a right, so I can access it. So it'll allow you to create the link, but you can also do the share as well. But yeah, and then you can copy the link, just drop it in Blackboard, and I can click the link and access it.
Okay, perfect. That was my question. I've had
Yeah,
some classes where the professors don't like that.
no,
I don't know, they give some reason like it doesn't play
no.
well with Blackboard or something. I don't know.
No,
So,
I've not ever had any trouble with doing it in Blackboard as long as they drop the link in and just make sure you click the option anyone with link basically can access it. Um, I've not had any trouble at all. I've had good luck with it, especially with this assignment. And that's to me, it's the easiest way to do this assignment, knowing that it's a virtual class.
okay, perfect. Thank
Yeah,
you.
you're welcome. Is there any other questions? That's kind of what I wanted to go over for tonight. Go over kind of the overall class expectations and then cover this interview project. When we meet next week, I will actually pull up slide decks that has a lot of information. We will focus on those, and then I will do a quick review on that Wednesday of the interview project to see kind of where your groups are. If you have any questions or you're stuck and don't really know what direction to go, I'll do kind of like a little Q&A on Wednesday toward the end of the Zoom after you had time to kind of get started. And then I will also next week get into informal assessment to go ahead and start talking about that so you can think about it for the following week. Okay? Remember, if you are on Zoom tonight, you don't need to hop on and answer any questions to get points. I will add your name in the grade book to get points for this week based off the transcript of this recording if you were present on Zoom. Okay? All right, I think I have one that has a question. Is it Muka? Is that how you say it? I don't want to.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
that's the
All right. I was
correct.
afraid I mispronounced your name. Sorry.
Oh, you're fine. I'd send a question about the student to be assessed. You
Yeah.
said we could use our neighbor's kid, but I wasn't sure if the age mattered or if
You can do it all the way up through
typical
high
kid.
school. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
You can do it lower elementary all the way up through high school.
Does it have to be ed
No.
student?
No,
Any
no,
student?
ma'am.
Okay,
No, it is not. No. We're
thank you.
right now we're mainly going to focus on learning how to do the different assessments and then interpret the data. And then when we start putting the reports together, we're going to learn how to take the raw data and actually put it into some visual representations, whether it's a table, chart, or graph. So that's what we're focusing on. Okay. So they don't have to be special ed. They don't have to be identified already. Okay. Any other
Sounds good.
question?
Thank you.
Hannah?
Mhm.
Uh-huh. I think Hannah, you have a question?
Yes, I asked in the chat, but going back to the assessments, informal and all the assessments across the course,
Yeah.
do we submit copies of the assessment? For example, if it's like an exit slip as a form of an informal
Yeah.
assessment or a checklist?
You you will. You'll include a copy of it. Yes, ma'am. Yes, thank you for asking. Does that answer your question? Is Christine, do you have a question?
I do. So mine doesn't have anything to do with this. It's on the book. So I had actually
Oh,
emailed you about it.
okay, okay.
Um,
If you want to stay on after I hit
yep,
stop record, then I'll answer your question on that. Yes.
perfect.
Okay. Anybody else? Hannah, your hand was still up. Did you have another question? No?
Yes, sorry. I
Oh,
just when we're so do you want us to submit copies of the like what we would administer or what we administer with like say the child's writing on it? I'm just a bit confused with.
yeah, yeah, with the child's writing. If they had to go in and write something, just include that, scan it.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh, you're welcome. Is there any other question before I hit the stop record and then I'll circle back and answer Christine's. Okay, remember guys, answer emails early in the morning and then again after 5. So that's kind of how I do it. And if you email me in the middle of the day, then I'll get to you right after 5 o'clock, okay? All right, I know it's a lot on there. It's very doable. It'll be a good 8 weeks. We just have to take 1 week at a time and we'll work right through it. And I know each of you will do well, okay? And unless I hear from you via email, I'll plan on seeing you on Wednesday next week, okay? You guys have a good rest of your week. Thank you.